Hi, it's Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go get that claimed, smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this very, very special episode of the Magellan Network Show. We're coming to you live from Summerlin, Nevada. We just got done with our Magellan Leadership 2-day training. And I know for a lot of you, this is like a shock. Like, who's the guy next to me? So I want to introduce you to one of my personal clients, Carmine Camino, founder of Cornerstone Planning. Carmine has been a private client of mine for about 5 years. He's also one of our members in our Empire Mastermind, which is our top program for high-level operators and owners. And so what I want to do is, we're in the same place, same time, I wanted to invite Carmine to come on the show. And one of the things that I find very fascinating is we all can learn from other people. So what I'm going to do is just ask Carm some questions about himself, about how he operates, his beliefs, why he does the things that he does that are all very positive. And with that, brother, thanks for coming on the show. It's great to have you here. So I got a great question for you I want to start off with, which is, first off, tell me a little bit about Carmine. So tell me about your background, how you grew up, what school. I want to give our audience a little flavor for who you are as a person, your hobbies, what you're passionate about. Then we'll get into all the business stuff.
Well, started out right out of high school working for the phone company. Never went to college. That was not really a path of mine.
Okay.
Started out as a grinder. Worked for the phone company, bartended on the weekends, bought my first house by doing that, and kind of knew that hard work equaled money, that equaled freedom. Like, I learned that very early on. Got to a point when I was at the phone company, after being a union delegate for 4 years there, realizing it was a dead end. I was at top pay, there was no way to scale, and it just wasn't good enough for me. So I went out and looked at a bunch of different professions and landed on the financial world, and started within an insurance company, BDRIA, which a lot of people, that's a starting point for a lot of people in the industry today. Mm-hmm. 17 years there, became an advisor, CFP. Fee-based planning was my focus for many years, and obviously conflicted with their environment. So opened up my own RIA. My fee on the RIA 2 years ago, will be 2 years in this week actually. And we're just continuing to grow from there.
I find it interesting. So this is not the typical, hey, I went to college, I took my CFP courses, I took finance, I took that. Like, you're like me, man. We're from the streets of New Jersey, right? And that's how we work. I also never went to college. I also learned money equals freedom. Always was an entrepreneur my entire life. So I get the game and I get the struggle. But one thing I want to ask you about is, Like, was there any particular moment or any particular scenario that really put the wanting to be an advisor? So I want to know is like, what else were you considering? So you say you like, okay, I ultimately chose this, right? But what was on the finalist list?
So there was policemen, firemen. Those were the three remaining professions.
Okay.
And
So
took the fireman test, got an offer as an officer in the prosecutor's office for Essex County, where I grew up.
Yep.
And it was all, and ended up getting offered a job as a fire department, but I already made up my mind to go into the world of finance prior to that, so I declined. And thank God, because I probably wouldn't make a good fireman.
Right, fair enough.
To be honest.
So when you got into our space, what were some of the surprises the first couple of years? Good or bad?
The one thing I always said was if I could just make what I made my last year working for the phone company in my first year as a financial advisor, then I knew I did it for myself and I knew growth would follow.
Okay.
So all I did was bust my ass that first year just to make sure that I at least matched or exceeded my last year's, and I did. I guess I was surprised that I was able to do it. And I had some people around me that were helping me, coaching me. I had a mentor in that year that we are still good friends today after 19 and a half years. So I kind of surprised myself, but I found being an advisor easy because I was already wired for impact. Let me give you an example. Like being a union delegate, if anyone has ever been one.
Sounds like a terrible job,
It's a horrible job, right? So don't apply for it anywhere. But what I have found is I was very happy when I had ideal outcomes for our members.
Okay.
So impact was very high. That was my adrenaline back then.
Okay, so you found that early that you
Yeah.
had that. So I want to go back to you said I bust my ass. So what was a typical day, week like? Like what was the work ethic back then? Because my thing is guys here like I work hard, you got to bust your ass, but there's no like what's the standard? Like what's the details matter, right? So like what was a typical day? Typically, were you up at 5 a.m., go to 8 o'clock at night, do set? Like what does bust your ass mean?
It was a numbers game, right?
So
coming from the insurance industry, they broke your ideal day, or ideal week, or ideal month, or quarter by numbers. How many calls? How many appointments? How many wins did you make? What was your revenue per sale, or whatever metrics they use? But a typical day, there were many days. The office was in northern Jersey, and there was a diner in town. And I always say this whenever I drive through town. That diner, there were many days I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner in that diner.
Right, just seeing people.
No, just eating or going, let's have meetings. But also, I didn't have time to eat. So I just had to run to the diner, pick some, head back to the office. And it was a lot of grinding. But it was a lot of, there were days where it was hard to operate because there were bad days, right?
Yeah, sure.
And when that happened, I didn't go to the office, or I left the office and I said, I'm clocking out. I was very good at saying, all right, I'm in no useful state today.
Right.
I'm checking out.
Right.
I remember those days. I remember more of those days than the days that I had big wins.
So one of the things I always ask guys is how many times did you quit in your mind? Was there ever a day where you so you never had that?
Never.
You were 100% committed to it? Okay, that's good.
There were days that I didn't leave my house because I got to know, or maybe the grind was getting to me a little bit. But there was never a time where I said, Monday morning I'm just resigning. That never went through my head.
So now you're the advisor. So the first several years you do your thing, you get through it, you're making money, you're sustainable now. When did you decide you wanted to build a team?
So that happened probably around 9-10 years in.
Okay.
And I had already detached from the New York Life office, and then also their brand. I became a DBA 2006. So 3 years after I started, the path to planning for me was immediate. I said, I get it. It's an insurance company, and you want me to sell stuff, great, but I want to be a fee-based planner. I was the first CFP in that group. I was the first one to charge fees for planning. So I kind of trailblazed on my own and managed money and all that stuff was some foreign to most people there at that office. And so I trailblazed that piece, and then it was all about impact. Is that I knew the process that we were doing in helping clients was the only way to help clients in our industry. And once that became clear, agents and advisors or registered reps at that time within the office were seeking me out to help.
Right.
And then I said, well, there's something valuable here. And there are people internally who said, hey, can I join your team? And in an agency environment, that just doesn't work because you have conflicting values, right? selling things in a certain time frame on their schedule versus let's create impact for the client through planning. So then I looked at bringing advisors that were not currently with the insurance company in, and that's I went from 1 to 5 very very fast, and but in the confines of that agency, in any agency, let's be fair, it doesn't work.
Great. So one of the things about the financial planning. So why did you have such an affinity to planning? Because a lot of advisors struggle with the planning value prop. Like they want to run money or they want to do things. So what was the moment or the situation that you said, we're going to be planning centric, or I have to be planning centric? How'd that come about?
Impact. So it's one client. Remember the client specifically where managed money was part of the financial plan and life insurance was part of the plan and getting their state documents done. So going through my standard process, they did pay a retainer at that time. That was 16 years ago. The longest running 2 clients that are 16 years consecutive paying a planning fee.
Yep.
And I helped them save money for their daughter's college. Now, as an advisor outside the planning fee, we weren't putting that into a product that would pay me a fee. It was in a savings account. And she had 14 or 15 months to do it. And it came into my office for a review meeting, and she comes across my desk and hugs me and cries and says, we hit Jackie's goal for her wedding. And not hugging me because their account did 3% that previous month. Our life insurance is in place. Like, no one cares about that stuff. It was that, in that moment, the impact to me of putting all that other stuff aside and focusing on what's important on a client, that's where I knew this is the only space I want to be in.
Okay. And so in our vernacular, 6 human needs, that's contribution.
Oh, yeah.
High contribution, right, going forward. So let's talk about, what's fascinating. So now you figure out the advisor game, but now you're going to figure out the business owner game, right? You start bringing guys in, the team put together, stuff like that. Now, you didn't go to Harvard for an MBA, obviously, I did not. So how did you pick up, where did you get the resources, the framework to go ahead and kind of create this world-class organization that you've created?
Coaching.
I know you went to several coaches. Let's have them. So, like who? Let's name names.
Dan Sullivan in 08. That was my first business coach.
Okay.
2 in between, Dan Sullivan and you, and then you now this is year 6.
Yeah.
And it's not just a coach; it's also the people within the coaching model. I'm in 2 mastermind groups with you, and friendships and bonds have formed, and mentorships have formed, and when I made those decisions, a lot of it said, "Hey, has anyone done this, and what have you seen?" My decision to go independent and pull the trigger had a lot to do with information for people that have done it. Like, why walk through the minefield? Why be the first guy?
Right.
When I have dozens of resources here that have done it already.
I remember that. I remember you were in safari in Africa, pondering all this. And I remember you got back to the States, you called me like as soon as you landed. And I said, hey, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're all in. We're going to do this.
So when you have a decision to make, a big one, you have to unplug. And I had 19 days with no internet, no cell phone, no TV. And I came back more clear of what my vision should be than I ever did. And it's only gotten better. It's kind of like when you go to the eye doctor and he flips the screens. Is this better or that better? It went from blurry to crystal clear. Somewhere on that trip. I don't remember when, but I was journaling every day on that trip. And it was very clear what my path should be at that
excellent point. I know one other thing that you turned me on to this, and we're going to turn our Magellan tribe onto this, is you're a big proponent of meditation.
Sure.
So let's talk about how meditation really fits into your leadership model, you as a human being, as an owner, as an entrepreneur.
So we've all heard the benefits of meditation, and I have found a common thread through the most successful people that I know in this industry and outside, Olympic athletes and people that operate at high performance levels meditate. So I started doing some research, tried it on my own, bought some stupid books, never worked. A colleague of mine turned me on to someone who does meditation coaching. And let me give my dad a little credit here. He said, you paid a guy to teach you to sit there and be quiet?
Nothing. Right.
Yeah, so typical Italian father from North Jersey doesn't get it. But I hired Mark. I believe it was around 7 years ago. It's just before you and I got together.
Okay.
To teach me what's called transcendental meditation, and it has been a game changer for me. And the biggest thing that it changed for me is made me much more stoic and more intentional with thoughts and action and even speech. So I don't have any high highs and low lows, right? I'm very even keel, which allows me through We've had some issues, right? The last couple, especially when I transitioned, we had a lot of issues there where if I wasn't meditating, then I would have had probably very high stressful days.
You would handle things differently.
Oh, 100%. And what meditation teaches you is the way to digest a situation properly, not to overreact or underreact, because you can underreact a situation as well.
Yep.
But being stoic has helped me tremendously. I never had an issue sleeping. Most people have the benefit of sleeping better as soon as they learn how to meditate. I don't fall asleep. I pass out. I don't have any issues there.
Cool.
But stoicism is the number one change.
So let's pivot the conversation a little bit. I'm always curious. I have a belief in we learn more from our failures than our successes. So I'm just curious, from a business perspective, what would you say has been your biggest failure / learning experience to date?
Not going independent earlier.
Okay.
So I do the math in my head, and this, when my decision to leave, leaving a firm after 17 years of...
Not easy.
It's not an easy decision. It turned into one, but I didn't do the math on the what I call revenue delta till 2 months after I decided, because I didn't want that to be weigh in my decision, right?
You don't want to overweight too much.
Yeah,
I didn't just do it for the money.
So July decided I didn't do that spreadsheet that you and I looked over till the end of September that year.
Okay.
And the one mistake is, and I don't know where I'd be now on a firm level, but we're growing exponentially, but far more than I thought we would ever. Where would we be if I left 5 years prior, when I actually started realizing where I was not conducive to me or to my clients?
Right. Interesting. Yeah, so that's a great story. So let's talk a little bit about who you are and what you believe, right? So as you know, in our protocols in Magellan, right, we do beliefs. I am people, our life is businesses, right? So tell me about people. What are your beliefs around people?
People are responsible for all of our great innovations and things in this world, right? So that's the one side of it.
Yep, that's the other side.
People make very bad decisions.
Yes. Okay.
And it's on my daily game plan over there, but and everything in between, right? Yep. People are not aware of options, and people are not good at taking advice. People don't seek advice.
Right.
Out. It's the guy that's lost with his wife in the car will not stop for directions.
Right.
All right. Business, I believe. Do you want me to go through each?
Yeah, let's do business. Yeah, tell me about business.
Rewarding. I mean, for me, it's I measure our success in impact. So when we have a good client win, a client hits a milestone. We helped a few clients retire early than expected last year.
Yeah.
Those were huge wins. We have a whole celebration for them in the office. And even more impactful is emancipating an advisor from a bad situation. So we're in the process of onboarding. We have 3 advisors right now onboarding with us, and they're all leaving a situation that is not ideal for what they believe in.
Right.
Is right. And we've talked about this. It's not just creating a better environment for that advisor and his family, his or her family. It's the 200 to 300 households that they serve. So if we have 3 advisors onboarding, that's 800 to 1,000 households that are better served, and 3 advisors and their staff that are better in better situations. And that's how I measure scale and impact. I mean, that to me is powerful. Life is way too short. Time is running out as we're standing here.
Right.
Right. So that goes back to maybe should have waited long to go independent, but it is what it is.
So I had you speak at this training here, and I know one of the things that we talked about was culture, right? And you laid some very powerful and very profound how you run your business, what it's all about, and I want you to talk, because I think this is really important for everybody to hear this. What are your key when it comes to clients? What is everybody's marching order, the culture around clients, and not just client service, but the client relationship? Why don't you share a little bit of that? So
when we built out our new office after our transition to kind of get a clean slate, that was your idea. I give you credit on that. The first order of business was I put a big sign up in our hallway. You can see as soon as you walk in. It's client's needs above all else. And my team knows that no matter whatever the client needs, that's irrelevant. How's the client best served? And that's our culture. And every advisor that's onboarding with us, if they don't have, and I've said no to probably about the same amount of advisors that I've said yes to join us.
Sure.
Because if they don't share that, and you could tell within, your actions are so loud I can't hear what you're saying, right?
Yes.
And I've had interviews with advisors like, oh, my clients, I care about them, and I said, well, let's do a deep dive in your practice. And it's very clear that it's not the case.
Right.
So I would not jeopardize what I've built so far. I'm very fortunate the advisors we have and the staff we have are we all want the same thing. So we don't really have a lot of conflicts and problems because we all know what the end result is.
Right.
And that's the culture, and it makes it, working with the team is fantastic because we're all working toward that end mission of serving that client best.
All right, so we talked about the present, we talked about the past. Let's talk about the future a little bit. So what's next for Carmine Camino? What's next for Cornerstone? Tell me about the vision that you have.
So right now, want to get to a certain advisor count, and then we're going to take a pause, an intentional pause.
Okay.
To restaff, retool our tech. We're in the process of doing a lot of that now before we get to that predetermined amount of advisors in order to scale up. So what I don't want to do is scale up without the infrastructure.
Right.
I want the advisor experience to be fantastic from the transition time, which is hard to have an excellent experience there, right?
Yes, of course.
Because stuff goes wrong, right?
A lot of stuff out of your control. Yeah, 100%.
And then my job as CEO is to create and maintain that environment where an advisor can thrive. Now that means, however they want to serve their client ideal format, I have to make sure that our environment, our tech stack, all allows that advisor to grow and thrive the way that they would want to. So that's my responsibility moving forward. Numbers, don't know. I think it's going to be. Really eye-opening in the next 12 months. Okay. I think we'll hit our goal number by the end of this year, and then we're going to pause. And then during that pause, we'll see, how much complexity I want in the more is not always better.
Right.
We may get to that ideal number and say, look, we're good.
Right.
I think we'll stay here for a while. But let's see.
Good.
Let's see.
I appreciate that. So a couple of things, and we'll start wrapping this up a little bit. So I'm very big on associations, right? Tribes, right? We talk about our tribes. We have a tribe here. You're involved in a couple of tribes. So let's focus a little bit on Empire, because I think that's one. I think a lot of people, and Empire is closed for new members, by the way. So appreciate you. Some of you may want to reach out. There's a wait list. How important is it for an advisor, who's a business owner, entrepreneur, and advisor, to be involved in some sort of mastermind study group with peers? How important do you think that is, or what are your experiences in that?
I would not be here today if it wasn't for those experiences. Like when I joined the first mastermind group with you, when you asked me to join the first mastermind elite, I said, am I going to be the brokest guy in the room? You said, well, you're probably about in the middle, maybe a little bit toward the top, but you're in the middle.
Yeah.
I said, fine. I said, Joe, I want to be the brokest guy in the room. And when you called me for Empire, you said, Carmine, I have an opening. I know you're another group, so you don't have to, but you will be the broker. Before you even finished your sentence, I said, I'm in.
Right.
I learned more interacting with those folks than anything, because they've already built what I'm building today.
Yes.
And I had a breakthrough yesterday with two team members that I met for the first time that built a huge organization. And just a sounding board. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Am I on the right track? Absolutely. We did the same thing, worked out great, right? It's that external validation from someone that's walked through the minefield already. And I can't put a price on it. I can, because I pay for it, but it is priceless, the impact and the support you have. These are people that are friends. These are not just people we see 2-3 times a year. These are long-lasting relationships of people that are in positions where I want to be.
Cool. I appreciate that. So one last thing. Hobbies, passions, other than this. What do you enjoy outside I call this the game. What do you enjoy outside the game?
Travel, any type of physical activity I'm in. I don't follow sports. I don't watch football. I'd rather go play something. Traveling with my family. I mean, we do, I think last year, I don't work Fridays, haven't for many years, and my wife and I, that's our day. We have our lunch and all that stuff. But last year I took 10 weeks off, and most of that was with me, my wife, and my 2 kids. And this type of industry allows me to have that freedom to do that. But anything physical, running, lifting all day, every morning, travel and experiences.
Okay.
That to me is the reason why we're doing this.
So what's next on the bucket list for you?
Northern Lights in December. We're heading back to Africa in June. New Zealand in 23. That's my wife's.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm smart enough to let my wife draw out the bucket list.
Right.
And then wherever they have the huts on the water, she picked it out. That's in 2023 as well.
Okay, cool. So the Maldives, or
yes, yep.
So you're gonna hit the Maldives and
no kids.
No kids.
No kids.
Yeah, I was
True vacation.
True vacation. Very cool on
Yep.
that. Okay. So before I say goodbye, Bray, is there anything you want to? And let me say this about this guy. I've gotten to know him for 5 years. We're buds. We're tight. Great guy. And I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, the privilege to work with you, to associate with you. And this is really the message. And the reason why I took advantage of this opportunity to put the show together, this episode, is I want to really re-emphasize how important your associations are, who you hang with, who you ask questions of, who you mastermind with. That is critical for your success. Now, since I've said that, anything final you want to say?
I couldn't agree more. And I think you're the what do they say? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. In a business sense, get rid of the people that don't have the same values and core values or same mission. If they're because you could be in the same industry but have a completely different, income may drive somebody, right? I'm not going to mesh well with that person because I'm not motivated by money. It's more about impact, right? But that's why these masterminds are so key. Because the people that are givers tend not to be motivated by money.
Right.
Tend to more be motivated by impact, and they're givers.
Right.
They're always sharing and giving.
We call them faucets.
Yes.
And we call the other people sponges. And you want a little bit of both, but you want to be more of a faucet than a sponge. So look, man, I know we literally just got done with 2 heavy days of training. So I appreciate you taking some extra time with me this afternoon to get this done. I thank you. I want to thank all of you for being to watch and being part of the Magellan Network Show family. Make sure you subscribe, like, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, and make sure you get your membership at MagellanNetwork.net. Any questions, reach out, and I'll see you all again next week. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.